What is up, RotoGrinders? Dean here. It's Dean78904. If you want to get all technical on me, it's 1:30 on the East Coast. So, of course, we're doing a show. Why are we doing a show right now? This is why you hit like. This is why you turn on notifications. This is why you subscribe to the RotoGrinders channel, because you just got a notification that said there's a show coming on at 1:30. That's because, of course, it's Hump Day. So we have a split slate. We have a show, of course, later on tonight, starting at 5 o'clock on the East Coast. But we also have enough money to be made here in order to justify the show. Myself and Stevie TPFL. Stevie, I was actually listening to. Let's give you a little plug. Yeah, of course, let the people know. Synergy. Synergy's real. Synergy's a thing. I believe in it. Synergy. You know Stevie from such things as NASCAR, the Morning Grind podcast, the Morning Grind. Now you just started the channel. Where are you at, like 500 subscribers, 1,000? Where are we at right now, Stevie?
Yeah, we're over 500. Started the channel a little over a month ago, so appreciate everyone for subscribing. And the goal was to get to 1,000 before the end of the year, and we're definitely on the right path to do that.
Let's make it 1,000 at the All-Star break. Or is that too ambitious? Is that too much? Is that too much to ask for other people?
I mean, listen, my goal is not going to change, but I would be pumped to have 1,000 before the All-Star break.
It's just YouTube Morning Grind, the Morning Grind?
Yeah, Morning Grind. Super easy.
Yeah, and you guys record that, of course, live. Obviously, you can listen in podcast form at your own leisure. But if you want to hang out with Stevie and whoever his guest happened to be that night, you feel free to join the chat, and that you will be acknowledged. There's a decent chance you'll be acknowledged. I was actually watching it. I was watching a little baseball last night on mute, listening to the Morning Grind podcast, and on the show, I found out that I had this show that you're listening to right now. It's like Stevie's like, yeah, I got a show tomorrow in the afternoon with Dean. I'm like, oh wait, what? Okay. All right, I guess we're working tomorrow. We're working double shifts on Wednesday. That's kind of how it goes. With baseball on Wednesdays and Thursdays, we have those split slates, getaway day for a lot of teams. We got a 5-gamer. We have all the lineups in, Stevie, which is nice. 3:10, by the way, first pitch. If you all are aware, of course, we have Coors Slate going down. Coors Field on this slate. Ashcraft versus Gomber. I know you were saying before the show, a lot of your the Reds you plugged in are no longer in the starting lineup. We don't have to worry about if the 2K cheapie is still a thing, because he's not starting today. They kicked him to the bench. Cincinnati starting India, Senzel, Steer, Fairchild, Kevin Newman, Will Myers, Barrero, Fraley. They really dumped Fraley in the bottom of that lineup because of the left-on-left versus Gomber. And then Luke Molly is no Tyler Stevenson. Who else are they? They're without several people in the Cincinnati lineup. Who did you have in that's no longer rosterable?
Do you know? I don't remember. I mean, I'm just being honest. Like, McLean was one of them for sure.
Yeah.
I had 4 guys that I just had to kind of rework how I was building my lineup, and it wasn't all Cincinnati. I was waiting for all the lineups to come out to like adjust things. But the one thing that I found somewhat interesting when I was building this lineup I'm only playing a single entry team. So what I found interesting was that I didn't stack. Like, it's very spread out. And I think that is super interesting for kind of how this slate is going to set up.
It's a good thing Blender's not listening. I assume he's not listening. He's on vacation in an Alaskan cruise. He would not appreciate that if you're not even if you win the money. Did you really win the money? If you win the money with like a 2-1-1-1-1-1-1, right? You win, but the people are giving you they're giving you the stink eye for sure.
I'm playing who I want. Isn't that what you're supposed to do?
Dean, come on now. 2-1-1-1-1. Who's doing this? Also,
that's
Dean, quick. Mark in chat, good morning. Tweeted at you, Dean, saying thank you for getting me onto Lynn late. Able to take down the $12 single entry. Congrats, Mark. That's awesome.
Awesome. Yeah. Congrats. I did see that. I was just busy with content, and I was going to respond later, I promise. But
he told me
yesterday,
he just doesn't like you, Mark.
What?
No, I saw that Mark guy tweet me, and I was like, man, I don't like that guy. So
yeah, I didn't win, so screw everybody else.
Yeah, that's what Dean told me.
I told you in confidence, though, Stevie. But that was behind.
I didn't sign
doors,
a contract. I'm good.
I'm a really mean person. So yesterday, I don't know how it went for you, Stevie, but it stunk. It stunk for your boy. We lost a fair bit of money. Basically, all my entry fees. I liked Lance Lynn, but I liked Montgomery a little bit more. I liked the Cardinals a little bit more. And it just didn't work out for me. So, I basically lost all my entry fees. A great thing about DFS, but bankroll management, that's a thing that's live. You got to be, you can't go all in on a particular day. It is DFS, it is daily fantasy sports, but it's also a marathon, right? It's a sprint that day, but I plan on sticking around here and keep on doing this for a while. But it's nice to see somebody else win that, I take no credit, to be clear, but it's just good to hear. It's like, oh, now I feel incrementally better about yesterday's slate. It was a disaster for me, but I'm glad we can help somebody else. We're talking about Lance Lynn and his, he's just been super unlucky. The regression monster in the reverse way, positive regression, because his homer to fly ball was like, 25, 30% or something goofy. So all of his fly balls, not all, but a large percentage, were going over the fence. And of course, there's no J-Ram in that lineup as well. So that Cleveland lineup took a pretty significant hit. So, shout out to Mark. Congratulations on that. Let's turn that into something pretty sweet today. And again, bankroll management, no sense, putting it all down today. Certainly not in this slate, right, Stevie? We don't talk about bankroll management enough. And you said yourself, you're only making one lineup. I'm in the 121 on DK. I did not get in time, I guess, as far as the Fanduel contest, whatever they had out there. Maybe things have changed since I last looked, but it's sparse as far as their early slate. The contest that I really like, the single entry stuff, like the slam, it's mostly one away. I'll play the night stuff, but I don't think there's much available right now lurking in the lobby. But I'm playing the 121 on DK, and I'm playing some other, like the home run and all that kind of stuff. But I'm also not maxing out as far as my entry fees in this 5-gamer. And it sounds like you're doing the same. Like you're getting a taste, you're doing the research, you want to apply that research, but at the same time, this probably isn't the slate where you're totally upping your entry fees, and like, just unless you feel super confident about like Ross Stripling, I don't. We'll talk about it. But it's kind of a gross one, is it not?
It's something. When you're in the like mindset of there's always an edge, this is like one of those ones where it's like, where's the edge, kind of thing. So I think it's really interesting from a tournament perspective. Cash, I think you're playing Darvish and just kind of figuring out your lineup and then plugging in either Walker or Nelson. I think Nelson's someone that's going to be pretty popular. So I do like from that standpoint. I think it's interesting. I think like Sonny Gray makes an interesting play today because he's got a really, really tough matchup against the Dodgers, and ceiling wise, he has one of the highest ceilings on the slate. So there's ways to approach this slate, but I hate the fact that Coors is on this slate, and I hate the fact that we're gonna again see a lot of ownership on the Coors game. So I think that's really interesting as well.
Yeah, two bad pitchers, two bad lineups. We saw yesterday the bad pitchers survived, and good for him. One of the things I always kind of point out all the time, like no matter how amazing a matchup may look, it's like, oh man, this is the worst pitcher in the league. This is the best hitter in the league. It's the best ballpark to hit baseballs in the league. The pitcher's still like the most likely outcome for a particular at bat is the pitcher to get the hitter out, right? Unless it's like the third baseman and then the top of the ninth pitching, then all of a sudden I guess that kind of thing sort of flips on its head. But you really can't predict such a situation. Just taking a peek as far as weather. Chief meteorologist Kevin Roth, he's not going to be on the next show. I think he's going to be on later tonight. Do not quote me on that. But he does have Colorado currently at a yellow for what it's worth. And I'll drop this in chat, but I'll also read it. A downpour over the ballpark is a possibility, but any rainstorms are moving. So even if we do get a delay, and that's not a lock, they will be able to finish the game. So I guess if there are storms, he expects them to be fast moving. LA temperatures around 80 with winds blowing out at 10 miles per hour, solid for bats, which I think is interesting and worth noting because you mentioned Sonny Gray, and I think Sonny Gray is really interesting if you trust the ownership projection. As of right now, he's at 10%, and you don't really want to pick in those Dodgers, but he's been, him and Darvish are the two best pitchers in this slate. But we talk about regression monster, right? Sonny Gray that has a 1.39 ERA this season, Stevie. That's spectacular. Good for him. You know what his home run the fly ball rate is?
No.
It's zero. It's zero. He's given up 0 homers. I feel like, look, I'm no math expert, but I feel like that's going to go up at some point. He's going to give up a homer at some point. That's going to adjust. The Sierra is a 3.41, which is fine. That's a solid Sierra. No issues with that. But the 1.39 ERA, of course, he's been lucky. Left on base percentage also at 85.7%. That's lucky as well. and the wind blowing out just might be enough, incrementally, to push those balls from the warning track over the fence. I'm not saying it's happening today, but like, sure, of course, he's going to give up a homer at some point. 32.4% fly balls. Dodgers are pretty good. But the flip side of that is there's not a lot of, you mentioned some gross names, and I understand why you did, and Ryan Nelson and Taijuan Walker. Currently on DraftKings, Yu Darvish, 70% ownership, 70% for Yu Darvish. Ryan Nelson at 30%, on a 13-game slate, you just basically X this dude out. Taijuan Walker at 29% versus San Francisco. San Fran, obviously, good ballpark to pitch in, and there are some Ks in that lineup, but still, it's Taijuan Walker. Sonny Gray at 10% is interesting. He's more than Darvish, and it's hard to double barrel with him and Darvish. I guess you can do that, but you're making one lineup. Have you figured out your approach, or are we going to kind of use this show to kind of get there? Because I'm kind of wide open as far. I like to sort of use the show sometimes, the conversation that we have, and then we turn it over to Crunch Time. Crunch Time goes around the horn, favorite play, position by position. But this is more of like a conversation on the slate, and sometimes things will just kind of come to me, and I'm hoping it'll come to me, Stevie, because right now my options are wide open on this slate. I'm not locked in anywhere, basically. Are you locked in, or is this maybe it comes up organically where you're going to inevitably end up? I know you said you had a shell lineup, but obviously you have to shuffle it around with some players not playing. But how willing are you to listen and adjust your lineup?
Well, I'm either going Darvish, 100% playing Darvish. He's going to be one of my two guys. I'm with you. I didn't get in on FanDuel stuff early this morning. I don't know if the contests were just really small or what. So DraftKings only for me this morning. But I'm either going Darvish, Nelson, or Darvish, Gray. I'm not playing Walker. The Giants hit a lot of home runs against right-handed pitching. Walker tends to give up home runs. We'll talk about that. But, I mean, Gray's success is not backed by numbers. So he has a 31% K rate this season with a 12.7 swinging strike rate. If we look back to last season for Sonny Gray, it was around 24%, but his swinging strike rate was under 10%. What he's doing this year is he's just kind of abandoning the fastball. He's saying, you know what? My fastball stinks. I can't get outs with it. It stinks. And he's kind of throwing more cutters and more sinkers and using his curve. And does that help home run numbers? Yeah. I mean, when you're not throwing a ton of fastballs, you're going to give up less home runs. I mean, major league hitters can hit fastballs over the fence. Any major league hitter in baseball can hit a fastball over the fence. So the fact that he's just kind of saying, you know what? My fastball stinks. And then he's throwing more sinkers and cutters, using his curveball as an out pitch, generating a ton of whiffs with his curveball slider combination, uses curveball more against lefties, uses sliders more against righties. So there are numbers backing up how well Sonny Gray is pitching. It's just when you look at this lineup for the Dodgers, it's where's the weak spot? And that's the only downside to Sonny Gray today. But if we're all looking at this 5-game slate going, where's the weak spot? Then let's take some shots on him. And, that's kind of where my mindset is. Do I want to just say, you know what? He has such a high ceiling that he goes out and he pitches really well and the Dodgers have an off day? Or do I take a shot on Nelson, who's not a great pitcher, against an awful Oakland lineup? Is kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to see. The Dodgers ran out, I believe. They have their premier lineup out there, right? Betts, Freeman, Smith, Muncy.
Lineup, yeah.
Yeah. Outman's out there as well. I guess Hayward is sort of their number 5. I guess they have a fair bit of lefties, obviously, so you got to go left on left at some point. Betts, Freeman, Smith, Muncy, Hayward, Vargas, Outman, Taylor, and then Thompson. They tend to play Thompson more against lefties, but I'm not sure if they're missing somebody, or I'm just not aware who that may or may not be. I see if I ask your questions in chat. We got plenty of time to entertain questions in chat, so by all means, throw them out there. Help us steer the show. Just a random question: do we like Sable versus Taijuan Walker? Taijuan Walker tends to be a reverse splitsy. I guess, do the Giants just not care, or they don't have a lot of options? I know Peterson went on the IL. They got Wade the lefty, Conforto the lefty, Yaz the lefty, Sable, and Crawford, who's back. I'm pretty sure. I know historically Walker has been reverse splitsy. Has he been reverse splitsy this year? And the Giants tend to be a pretty forward-thinking team when it comes to that kind of stuff. But Sable, I know I've seen several times get pinch hit for what it's worth. Is the reason why I'm kind of getting to this.
He's DHing today too. Bart's catching, so like it wouldn't shock me if Sable gets DH for today.
He's out in left field. Flores is a DH, but you're making.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I saw that.
Yeah, no worries. I'm curious. We have Derek Carty. The bat does predict pinch hit risk. I feel like Sable will probably be one of the guys that are more likely to get pinch hit for. Bit of a prospect.
They don't have a third catcher on the lineup like roster, so like maybe that lowers the pinch hit risk a little bit. Just in case Bart does get hurt, Sable would have to go catch.
Okay.
So I don't know, like, what kind of scenario, like in the ninth inning, game-winning run type of thing, maybe they pinch hit for him. But I don't see, like, sixth inning, a lefty comes in and, like, hey, we have to take Sable out of the game and get a righty in there. They do have J.D. Davis on the bench today, and Mitch Haniger.
There you go.
They have some righties on go, but I think just overall, like, I think the pinch hit risk a little lower when you have a guy like Sable who plays outfield, catches, DHs, that the fact that Bart and him are both in the lineup and they don't have a third catcher, I don't even know who the reserve catcher would be. So I think that lowers the pinch hit risk a little bit for Sable today.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now, by the way. People are curious. Check out the bat, obviously, Derek Carty. Number one guy to get pinch hit for the record, is Gordon, Nick Gordon for Minnesota. 60%. Stuart Fairchild in Coors at 54%. Per our conversation, but Sable is at 18% as far as a potential pinch hit risk. So, yeah, there are certainly a fair bit of them out there lurking today. Hey, is this a slate we are willing to roster a hitter against your pitcher? I think 5's kind of the number where I'm willing to do it. And also, do you really expect any of these pitchers to get a clean sheet? I suppose we can get one out of Darvish. I don't know how much Royals I'm rostering anyway, but I don't expect Ryan Nelson to throw a clean sheet. He's going to get hit at some point, I would imagine. And it'd be great if I have that hitter too, if I happen to roster some Ryan Nelson begrudgingly. I know he kind of threw his name out there before, but I'm open to it. I'm not like seeking it out, but I'm open to it.
I could see maybe like a Witt against Darvish, stolen base upside, that kind of stuff. I could see, potentially doing that. And then you mentioned Nelson. I mean, you're using Nelson just kind of trying to get what? I mean, today, 15 to 20 points, so 18-ish points.
You'd be thrilled with that.
Yeah, I mean, I could see like taking Blade, Roker, or Noda against Nelson. Nelson's been really bad against lefties, so I think Blade is someone we're going to talk about. I think he's in a great spot today.
Chad in chat says Trace Thompson has been much better versus righties. He's horrible versus lefties. Did I remember that wrong in my head? Do I have to double check, or is this like this season versus career stuff, and it's a little bit different this year as opposed to his entire?
He's definitely a platoon hitter. He's much better against left-handed pitching. This year, for what it's worth, I mean, he's been really good against righties and really bad against lefties.
Yes. Okay, so I guess Chad's saying for this year, and I'm talking about for his career. This year he's hitting 80. Hold on, 61 is his bat. He has 2 hits. In 41 at-bats versus lefties this year, 19 strikeouts. Good grief. And he's got a homer. Good for him. More respectable against righties. He hasn't been great versus either, for what it's worth, but I think historically he's better versus lefties.
He was better against righties last year, too, for what it's worth. Small sample size.
Okay, now I'm looking at his career numbers because this is the thing we're doing for the next 40 minutes or so. These are the little things that let's see. Historically, versus righties, his WRC plus is this his career? I think it's his career. Yeah, his WRC plus is better versus righties in his career. 110 versus lefties, it's 84. So
maybe in my head, I've always just played him against lefties.
I think they always play him against lefties, so I assume he's better against lefties, and he just hasn't been. But they tend to play him against lefties when he starts. So I just assume that they knew what they're doing. But yeah, I haven't fully dug in on it. Similar ISO for what it's worth, 207, 216, essentially the same throughout his career. Mr. Gerg says Gomber's gonna break this slate. Maybe, like, I don't think so, but maybe. Like, I'm not gonna say no definitively. Gomber, of course, pitching for the Rockies today. He's not especially good. The Reds lineup is not good either. It's bad versus bad. He's at the worst Sierra on the slate at 5.21. His Ks are 16%. He walks too many guys at 9.2%. Gives up too many homers as well. 1.8 per 9. I believe that. Nope, not the highest in the slate. There's several guys that have higher than. Wait, is that? Yeah. Okay. So Stripling, what is this homer on the fly ball? Yeah. Okay. Have you seen? This is kind of small sample stuff with Ross Stripling. 29 innings, right? He's given up 3.1 homers per 9 in the season, which that seems like too many, right? That's way too many. Yeah, that's too many. His homer in the fly ball, Stevie. It's like Christian Yelich's homer in the fly ball like 5 years ago, whatever it was. Remember that? 38.5%. That's an outrageous number. So Ross Stripling's been very unlucky. We can say that. He's given up only 26% fly balls. Just an interesting kind of fun with small samples, I suppose. Do you think Gomber's going to break the slate? Is Mr. Gerg right?
I don't think Gomber is a bad pitcher. I just think he pitches in a bad ballpark. Unfortunately, he plays half his games there, but he has really drastic home road splits. And I mean, most pitchers that pitching cores do. My problem is, 8 righties. That's not what you wanted to see if you were thinking about playing Gomber today. They're not good righties.
They're bad.
They're not good righties. Senzel, we can probably put Senzel as a good righty. Newman, he's in the lineup today instead of the rookie McLean. Newman's actually hit left-handed pitching really well this year. McLean's just doing so much at AAA that they had to call him up. So I think Gomber is a guy I'd probably stay away from. If I was going to play a pitcher in this game, it'd probably be Ashcraft on the other side. But I don't even feel great about that because his struggles with walks, this is a ballpark that if you're struggling with command, the ballpark punishes you because of how big it is. And I mean, the altitude obviously, but you don't want struggling pitchers that are struggling with command in cores usually.
Yeah. I'm not going to play Gomber, but I'm also this slate is so ugly and so goofy that I don't want to talk anybody out of. If you like something, by all means, play it.
Oh, this is the perfect slate that if you're feeling something, just play it.
Yeah, just do it, man. It's gross. Alex contributes here at RG and Fangraphs as well. He says he likes this slate. He probably likes it because it's so gross. I mean,
It's gross.
I'm curious why Alex likes this slate. Elaborate on that. Probably because there's nothing to love, and it's a great slate to get goofy on, and it's a fun one to lean in on, I suppose.
It's a great tournament slate because there's no wrong answer.
Yeah, I'm not making 20 or 30 or 40 lineups, whatever it is. I'm making a couple. I'm in 10 contests, and I'm not sure if I'm going to make one lineup and put it in all 10, or if I'm making 2 and splitting it up to 5. I haven't decided that just yet, but we'll see. I'll see how many lineups I can make, but I'll probably make a couple iterations. Not sure where I'm at as far as the 121. Let's see. Producer Devin says this slate is ugly. I'm curious to hear his thoughts if he's available. We can make this a 3-man booth. Devin, he uses the RG tools here, and Devin's been smashing so far this season. And I said before the show, Devin, you look at this stuff differently than I do, and I don't think it's an insult. I don't think you watch as much baseball as I do, and that's probably for the better. I don't know, and sometimes that's good. It's Blender never watches baseball, and you probably your brain doesn't get mucked up with I can't play this guy. I saw him do this something terrible and never again, right? So
I test my test.
Yeah, there you go.
It's funny you say that. I did actually get the MLB TV subscription this season, and I've been watching the games. But you're correct. I'm not a watcher. Typically, not a watcher. I have been watching the Brewers though because they are the affiliate team for the Nashville Sounds here in Tennessee, in Nashville. So that's been kind of fun watching them do terribly.
Is there anybody in the Brewers that have they can hit lefties in the minor league system because they can use somebody?
It's funny.
Yeah, go ahead.
We watched Yelich in Nashville, and I was like, wow, he's doing that bad. And then ever since I told my wife about how bad he's been just raking.
Yeah.
No, this is a very ugly slate, Dean. I don't know why there's chalk at all.
Something's kind of got to be chalk.
But Well, I think people are going to play Coors, and I don't necessarily think I agree with that, especially if it's going to be like super chalky. I'm probably just going to fade it completely.
So, not to cut you off, Devin, but are you one of those people? And I hear people say this all the time. And again, I'm not saying people are right, not saying you're wrong. Your approach is your approach, and you can sort of justify anything. But I hear people say, "Oh, Coors Field," and I will. Will's another guy that does this. "Oh, I'm just not playing Coors. It's either an all in or it's an all out." And like, why can't I play three guys in the Rockies? Why do I have to go all in or all out? Like, I don't understand that thought process.
Will's been doing that for years, though. Like, he just doesn't play Coors. So
I know, mean, yeah.
But last night, for instance, you know, anybody that faded Coors last night just crushed because I mean, Coors was so popular, the game was awful. I stacked Arizona Oakland last night. That was like one of my main teams, and it just smashed. What was it, 8-9 or something like that? Like I was a Rivera play over Longoria play away from winning a tournament last night. So I think like if you're in the mindset of like, hey, not every Coors game is going to go bonkers. All it takes is a few tournaments a year to win a lot of money. So I know Will's been doing it for years. He talks about it all the time, but I think the mindset is interesting when it comes in. Like if you're going to play Coors, you play it. 3-man off of Coors, like that's going to be one of the chalkiest like 3-mans you're going to build. So Blender's not here today. I got to do my best Blender impression. So like if you're going to 3-man something, why 3-man a high owned stack? So I think that's kind of the mindset.
Well, I think 3-man, the guys that aren't as popular, I suppose. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. But Devin, your thoughts on that, the general Coors all in, all out thought process?
Well, I think it's important, first off, to distinguish between what contests you're playing. So to specify, I am playing some single entry, and I am also playing some 20-entry max large field stuff. So I will be picking one of my single entry lineups out of the 20 that I play. But for the 20-entry max, I will probably be fading it completely on a slate like today, because it's also the slate size is 5 games. If there were like 10 games, I might allow like a one-off here and there. But with it being so small, I would rather just be either completely wrong or completely right and try to take advantage of the situation in that way.
When you peruse your 20 lineups you've made in the 20-entry max, how do you select and say this is the one I want for single entry?
It's either sometimes it's based on like a feeling I have on the slate. If I'm like, oh, this offense is going under own, I'll be looking for that first stack that has that offense. Or what I'll do is just focus on the ownership and projections relation based on sort of an optimal lineup build and just say, well, this one drops, 25% for like 2 points in the projection. That's probably what I should just do for the single entry. There
you go. Are you a student of Blender? I feel like you're a student of Blender.
I am. Yeah. I spent 2-3 years doing his morning shows. It started to sink in.
You're in the Blender coaching tree.
Yeah, a little bit. I was going to point out, though, along those lines, yesterday, Tampa Bay was showing up on Derek Carty's. I've got up here on the screen share, Derek Carty's The Bat X stack projections for DK. Yesterday, I saw that Tampa Bay was like somewhere mid in this list, and the other two, I forget what the other two offenses against the chalk pitchers were, but they were bottom of the list. So I remember thinking about that and saying, well, if I'm not going to play that, one chalky pitcher, I might try to get some of those stacks. And sure enough, Tampa Bay did pretty well. Earlier, I was seeing that Kansas City was a little bit higher up on this list, but the lineup must have lowered them on the list a little bit. So I was thinking maybe Darvish getting some one-offs or three-man stacks against Darvish might be smart, but I don't know if I'm going to be going there anymore.
Jumping in the chat, I want to appease. There's some questions being thrown out there. Who are the best pitcher and best bat tonight? I love my wife. 0007 wants to know. Who wants to field that question? Devin, by all means, if you want to field it, or Stevie. Who is the best pitcher and the best bat today on this slate? 5-gamer. I guess we think Darvish is the best pitcher, right? But he's going to be significantly owned, obviously. Do you have a favorite bat, Stevie, as far as this slate?
Schwarber would be my favorite bat today. Like, just the matchup against Stripling is fantastic. Stripling's a guy that gives up a lot of home runs and a lot of fly balls. Not as many fly balls this year, it seems like, but a lot of hard contact line drives kind of thing. So I think a guy like Schwarber, who has multiple home run upside in any matchup, is my top hitter today. And then as far as like top pitcher, I mean, I think Cheese summed it up the best today. There's two pitchers with strikeout rates over 25%. One has an elite offense and one doesn't. So, I mean, why overthink Darvish today? He could go out and have a bad game, but, I mean, anybody can go out and have a bad game. So when we're looking at just purely numbers, the lineup the Kansas City Royals have today, 26.8% strikeouts, 125 ISO against right-handed pitching. Darvish has a 27% K rate. Like, why overthink Darvish today? Outside of just, hey, I'm in a game theory ownership play somebody else. That's the only reason that you're getting off Darvish as a top-end pitcher today.
Devin, you're making the 20 lineups. You're going to be over or under that Darvish 70% ownership?
I'll probably be under, and I'll probably also be under on KC. But I'll probably have some one-offs here and there. Pasquantino, I wouldn't be surprised if he hit something. But I think the offense that I'll be looking at the most is probably Arizona.
Love it.
I think they match up pretty well here against Mr. Medina.
Funky cold, yeah. He's not. I wasn't
there. Yeah, it was there. You had to grab it.
I thought like that's before your time.
Before my time, of course. Yeah. Funky Cole Medina. Yeah. No, I think Arizona's in a good spot. And to that point, I guess if I'm going with a bat, you got to have Christian Walker. Let's go there.
Yeah. The Oakland bullpen, by the way, shout out to them. They didn't completely implode last night. I believe they actually had like 6 shutout innings or something like that. They went 12 innings. Which you don't see teams going 12 innings anymore, games going 12 innings anymore.
Oh my God! Did you watch the game?
No, I just saw my currently winning, dropping and dropping.
Don't give anybody any credit if you're not watching the game. Like they kept hitting the ball super hard at people.
Okay.
So, let's pump the brakes on the Oakland bullpen. They're absolutely trash. They just got. I have to go back and look at the BABIP, but I mean they were hitting the ball super hard. They were just hitting it to people. It was so frustrating. For someone that stacked that game, like full game stacked that game, like you're like, gosh, man, just 1 or 2 feet left, please. A couple.
You still got a 9-8 game in the Coliseum, like you can't.
I made money. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, like it would have been so much nicer if a couple balls were hit a little bit different. But I'm with Devin. I think Arizona is a fantastic team to play today. Christian Walker's been hitting the ball great. Don't forget about Gurriel. He's someone that hits right-handed pitching really well. Medina has struggled with righties this season. I think that little like Carroll, Walker, Gurriel, like 3-man is really strong today.
I did see Fujinama, of course, gave some runs yesterday because that he gives up runs every outing. His I don't know what his ERA is now. I think it's like 12 or something. He was a starting pitcher and he got,
that guy throws like 97 miles an hour, flat fastballs, and people just tee up on him.
Yeah. I think he was the last one to give up runs in yesterday's game. Acton threw 51 pitches, so he's almost definitely not available. Fujinama did throw 32, but he did not pitch until like Friday was his last start. Just kind of look at their bullpen. It's pretty heavily taxed. You probably see Zach Neal. You probably see Spencer Patton or Sam Moll. Those are the first guys that are probably coming in. But, yeah, I'm not touting, to be clear, I'm not touting the Oakland bullpen and suggesting they turn things around. And I did not watch the game. That is correct. And I did not look at the exit velocity and the BABIP and the X batting average and stuff like that off the bats there.
Why not, Dean? Why not?
Well, I mean,
you're supposed to be good at this. Like, you're the host. What do you like?
Well, I am the host. I ask the experts questions.
No,
you and Devin are the experts.
Oh, I'm the producer.
I mean, to be fair, I spent like Livatore. I've been looking up his numbers like all morning, doing deep dives on him. So, I mean, to be fair, I spent like way too much time this morning, probably 45 minutes looking up Livatore against. But hey, I do like him for anybody that's playing the late slate.
Milwaukee is the worst team in all of baseball against lefties.
They are not the worst team against lefties in all of baseball anymore. Colorado.
It changed overnight. Did I miss it?
It did.
Okay.
I did. I had to rewrite. I was like, man, I could just copy paste everything I said yesterday. I had to rewrite some stuff because Milwaukee moved up a couple spots because Jordan Montgomery
was good yesterday. Like
he was really good.
He had like 7 strikeouts or so. He got squeezed a little bit too.
Couple bad pitches, but yeah, they moved up a little bit. They have a 77 WRC plus now.
71 for Colorado. But the K rate, I believe the K rate they're still top.
is incredible. And Liberatore, we're not getting into the later slate.
He's a stud.
He's a stud. So have fun with that later.
30.7% K rate Milwaukee versus lefties this season. That's really bad. The next closest team is Seattle at 27.4. And by the way, Bayo, well, we'll talk about the late state later. I guess I don't know if you're gonna be on the show or not, but Bayo is really interesting for tournaments as well, especially where he's super cheap on DK. I believe in that.
This is how bad the early slate is. We're talking late
we
slate.
just talk about the night slate.
Listen, we're just getting people pumped up for the late slate.
Come back.
Who do you like in Showdown for Boston and the Heat? What was that, Devin?
I was just letting the viewers know we will be back later for the evening slate as well.
There you go.
Andrew's asking a trick question in chat. Who's a solid SP2? Who is a solid SP2, Stevie?
All right. So,
who is an SP2? Better question. Easier question to answer.
We've been talking now for almost 40 minutes. We haven't mentioned Dustin May. The bottom half of the Minnesota lineup's not great. So he's a interesting tournament. SP2, his advanced numbers are atrocious. There's a lot of regression coming to Dustin May. We've been talking about it, I feel like, for a while now. So I don't love him. I think if you want to go like Darvish, Sonny Gray, I don't hate it. It all comes back to Nelson. I feel like a lot of people are going to come back to Nelson. Oakland's not great. They are getting better. They have been hitting the ball a lot better. They're not like the end-all, like terrible offense that they were a month ago. But, the bottom half of this lineup is still really bad. There's still not a ton of power in this lineup. So I think Nelson is going to be a lot of people's SP2. But, as we've gone through the show, the more I like the Gray-Darvish combo on DraftKings today.
Just want to mention, Monty in chat's going into the specifics. I assume that's the broadcasters there for Oakland or Arizona, talking about how they're anticipating good weather, good hitting weather in the Coliseum. According to Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth, his Weather Edge tool, 275 game sample. It's a pretty healthy sample there for Oakland. Similar weather games in the past, 67 degrees, winds blowing out 8 miles per hour toward right center. We've seen a bump in home runs at 11.4%, a bump in runs at 7.2%. So obviously a horrific hitting environment as a general thought, but better than it typically is. And Arizona does have a team total above 5. We haven't really mentioned San Diego. San Diego's got a team total creeping up to 6. I'm not sure if is that when the Marine layer starts lurking around 4 o'clock East Coast time? What do we have here? Weather Edge. No, the Weather Edge does not really necessarily love it here. No Manny Machado, of course, in that standing lineup. I think he still has he's got a hand. They did shuffle up their lineup. Xander Bogaerts is leading off. Bogaerts, Cronenworth, Tatis, Soto, Carpenter, Kim, Odor, Grisham, and Austin Nola doing the catching. Combination of Carlos Hernandez, and they're expecting Jackson Kowar to be the long man. I don't think Jackson Kowar has pitched. I don't think he's thrown Major League Baseballs this year. I believe they just called him up. Maybe I'm missing something.
No, he did. He hasn't. He threw a little out of the bullpen last year. I think it was like 15 innings. The last time he was like starting in the majors was 2021. Command, big issues for Kowar. Really high whip this season in AAA. I think it's over 2. Nothing you want to see. Just the command. Bad command turns into bad things. Like 8.2 walks per 9 this season in AAA. Like just really bad command. He does have like above average changeup, above average fastball, just below average command. He was a guy that was talked about a little bit last year as like a prospect to watch, but just really hasn't kind of panned out, and the command continues to be the biggest problem.
Devin, you like to jump around on Plate IQ. I know you talk about Plate IQ. I use it as well. Is there anything that you've seen, anything worth noting, anything worth kind of showing up on the screen to the people that you may have this is an angle to take as far as this slate? We're looking for angles. We're looking for something.
Well, I was actually going to let you know that I was going to give you crap. Actually, was how this was actually going to go for not seeing that I've had Plate IQ up this entire time. You did notice. Okay,
I've been watching. Well,
that was one of the things I was seeing about Arizona is there is not nearly as much K upside in this projected lineup, or I guess it was the confirmed lineup now. But also what Stevie was talking about earlier in terms of Gray seeing the back half of that Dodgers lineup. That feels like 3 confirmed Ks right there in a row.
Confirmed.
There's upside is what I'm getting at. So, and also considering the ownership between everybody, it's considerably less on Gray than Darvish, and it's a 5-game slate. Got to do something weird in tournaments. I was saying in chat, I might go Gray Gomber, just try and take advantage of Coors failing on everybody.
You use Plate IQ a bunch. You use Slate IQ, and that's something that people reference a lot as far as making your stacks, getting over, getting under the teams that are going to be too heavily owned. When you consider the chance of them winning the slate, is there anything you've seen that's kind of sort of jumped out to you as far as Slate IQ? Is there a team being well over-owned, well under-owned? I would imagine we might be seeing over-ownership in Coors. Just a guess, but I've not pulled it up just yet. Are you seeing anything?
First off, unfortunately, I believe it is only for the main slates. So for these double day slates, we won't be having it for the early games.
Dean has a hard time knowing what's on RotoGrinders.
No, I know about the Slate IQ tool.
You've been here for like 12 years, Dean. I will speak through a little bit my process of what I do, though, is considering what I referenced earlier with the BATX stack pages, I will reference this in terms of what might be meshing well with Slate IQ. So say I looked at Slate IQ and it would say that, San Diego is underowned comparatively. Seeing Slate IQ or the Stack X projections have Slate or San Diego as 4th best offense, I would say, all right, well, I might try to be over the field on San Diego, but that's obviously a hypothetical because we do not have Slate IQ for the early slates.
Stevie, Jake in chat wants to know your thoughts on Ashcraft, the pitcher throwing baseballs for the Cincinnati Reds today in Coors Field. It's a lot of it maybe like it's kind of like working backwards. Like these are the guys I definitely don't want to play. And okay, who's left standing? Is Ashcraft at least left standing or no?
20 entry max, he's in my player pool. 3 entry max, probably not. Like I think that's just kind of where it's at. Like if you're playing 20 entry max, I think that you have to remember the Rockies are just bad. I mean, they're a bottom 5 WRC plus team. They strike out at a 23% clip. They don't have a ton of power. They do have a lot of home runs, but if you look at their home road splits, like home runs, their road home runs are awful. So it's just not a good team. So like Ashcraft, if his command is pitching, like if he's pitching well command wise, he is someone. I'm really quickly. Do we have an umpire in that game?
We do have some umpire data, and I believe there's some extremes.
That helps a lot. So there you go. So a guy that struggles to command, if he's going to get a ball or two, ball and a half outside or low or high, I mean, it helps a guy that struggles with command. So I think I would prefer like Ashcraft over Gomber if I had to choose out of the two. But I mean, that's really not saying much. Like the more we get through this slate, the more I built a second lineup just because I think it's fun now. It's a full Arizona Oakland stack because I think Nelson's going to have a lot of ownership. Oakland's not a bad team, and that 3-man, like right there, that 3 or 4-man at the top of the Oakland lineup is really not that bad. Nelson's upside is in the bottom half. If the top half can get to Nelson early, I mean, you could see an Oakland stack kind of working. So it's a really interesting slate because there's so many different ways to build. It's like the complete opposite of tonight's slate. Tonight's slate is terrible when it comes to hitting, and this slate's terrible when it comes to pitching. So, I mean, it's one of those things where if there was better contests on like those FanDuel all-day slates, it'd be a really fun like all-day slate to build.
Let me jump in there.
Yeah.
Let me jump in there, Dean, in terms of what Stevie was saying, Ashcraft and Gomber. For a 20 entry max contest, we're talking about pitchers that are 5% or less. You only need 2 lineups to be double the field on that. And that's, you got 18 other lineups you can do something else with. So even if you want to go crazy and get 4 or 5, you're going to be well over the field on somebody like that. So
the extreme umpires, by the way, extreme hitters umpire for Chalky U Darvish. Not saying you can't play him, just putting the information out there. Extreme hitters umpire for Darvish. Extreme hitters umpire, of course, the other side for Jackson Cower and Carlos Hernandez. And we also have that extreme pitchers umpire in Coors Field. Andrew wants to know, we didn't really touch on it, the Philadelphia stack, Philadelphia in San Fran, obviously a negative ballpark shift here, Stevie. We mentioned that Stripling and his weird homer on the fly ball stuff, and it's kind of small samples. You can't expect going forward. He's still going to give up 3 homers per 9. That's an outrageous number. That's like, I think that might be higher than what Josiah Gray had last season, and he was basically one of the guys that yielded the most homers last year. Again, 38% homer in the fly ball, super, super goofy. But I think Philadelphia is going somewhat neglected, all things considered. For a 5-game slate, the pie's cut up, bigger pieces. Only so many places the ownership can go. And there's some obviously real studs, Stevie, on Philadelphia. Bryce Harper, Schwarber, amongst other guys in Philadelphia. How do you feel about the Phillies versus Stripling?
I think Stripling's always had a home run problem. And, I know you love your home run to fly ball rate, but that doesn't, tell the whole story of, how many line drives he's giving up. He's giving up, a career high of line drives this year. So, line drives can turn into home runs just as much as a fly ball can. So, the home run to fly ball ratio is wonky, but Philadelphia is in a fantastic spot. Stripling gives up home runs. There's a lot of power in this lineup with Harper, Castellanos, Schwarber, Realmuto. Then you get the upside and stolen base upside with Stout and Turner. Marsh is another power guy, and then they called this Clemens guy up, and he has a little pop too. So I think it's really interesting when you're looking at this Arizona team or Philadelphia team. Sorry, Alex messed me up in chat, but Philadelphia team against Stripling, another team that I think you could definitely go overweight on today.
You say this Clemens guy, you know who that is, right? I assume you know who this is.
That's Dean, way over your head. Gosh, man.
It's all right, Dean. It's before my time.
His dad, Bobby Clemens, is a famous accountant.
There you go.
You're not a golfer.
For anybody that didn't know, that's Roger Clemens' son. Just in case you didn't know.
Alex, by the way, you said he was goofing you up in chat. Alex is Philadelphia, Arizona. That is the nuts. I'm kind of moving away from. I think I'm going to move away from cores as well. I not altogether. Maybe I just don't like to take the
have
stand
Arizona
sometimes.
On my mind. You're definitely correct. I like Arizona a lot today.
Yeah, I like the Arizona side versus Oakland for sure. Do they still let Clemens pitch? Did he pitch last year when they got there? He might have mopped up a game for funsies. I feel like that may have happened. I don't recall. At what point do we call Schwarber just another Adam Dunn? Oh, man. That's
keep it above the belt.
Adam Dunn had 500 home runs, close to 500 home runs. I don't know, 455 or something. Some of the most mammoth homers. But three outcome guy, historically, strikeout homer, or what's the third outcome? A walk. Yeah, it took me a second.
What sport is this?
Is this baseball? Hey, hit that like button out there, because not just for us, not just for producer Devin, you guys are getting the treat. You guys are getting Devin, getting his perspective, not just for Stevie, but we have. Are they early? I think they're early. I feel like they might be early. You guys are going to have some fun killing time all the way up to lock if you're sticking around the entire time. But TJ is here. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth is not here, unfortunately. I think hopefully he'll be on later. I don't see anything weather-wise that's kind of lurking that we're going to be alarmed about. But, of course, I presume he will update on RG or update on Twitter. Spidey, I'm presuming, is here lurking as well with the Spidey bombs. That's what I'm getting at. You got to hit that like button. Otherwise, Spidey is going to sleep in. Dave and TJ, welcome to the show. This is if you can give me an adjective, Dave. Give me an adjective. You're a linguist. Give me what adjective best describes this slate? 3 words or less. I'll give you some wiggle room.
It exists. I'll go 2 words.
It be.
You want to give your other word to somebody else? TJ, feel free to chime in. You get 4 now because you got Dave's other word to play with.
I don't know. It exists. It will be happening today.
The slate's fun. The more we break down
that's too many words. Just say
fun.
it be happening today. It be happening now.
Will be happening today. He gave me 4. Will be happening today.
Yes.
I'm with Stevie. The more we talked about it, the more I'm into it. So,
well, you're not going to watch it, is the thing. I don't think you watch it.
I don't know.
You don't watch baseball either. I was talking about Oakland. You're like, what?
I'm going to watch
that bullpen did great last night. Oh, yeah.
Dean, why would I watch baseball when I can watch dots? I just need to watch the dots.
Oakland's the best
you gotta
team
watch
to
the
watch.
dots.
There's all the runs in that game.
I don't understand. There's a team, their nickname it describes their physique. I don't. It's so confusing.
You know what?
Athletics.
That is kind of weird. I've never really thought about that before.
It's very odd.
Stevie, you'll appreciate this. I'm writing up an article after the show from an interview that I did. I talked with Ash Ketchum. I talked with the voice actor for Ash Ketchum, and so writing up that interview today.
You have to send me a link. I'm interested in that.
I will for sure. She was very nice.
There you go.
Ash Ketchum, of course, famously from the Pokemon series, if y'all are not aware.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, am I supposed to know what an Ash Ketchum is? So he's friends with Volpe, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
I saw
think
this
Ash
supercut, actually, the other day. I saw a supercut of all these clips of him from the original show. He was mean. He's like insulting everyone at every single line, that character.
Yeah,
I mean,
he was
kids
10.
watch the original show. It's great.
10-year-olds get mad.
I'm gonna confess, I have Google. I got the Google. I just typed in Ash Ketchum. I come on, you serious? You think I know one Pokemon for the next? I had no clue.
Props to you.
He's a person. Right. He's a person. He's the trainer of all the Pokemon. Yeah.
Wait, he's like the Master Splinter of the Pokemon? Is that what you're suggesting?
No.
Out of your element there, Dean, I think.
Stay in your lane.
Think of it as if the Pokemon are your DFS lineup.
Okay.
And Ash Ketchum is the guy making the lineup.
Okay. Does he do the catching of the Pokemon, or he has nothing to do with? Yes. He doesn't do anything with that.
He catches them, he battles them, takes them all over the world, and yeah.
Dean's got to crawl.
Are we still doing that? Are we still firing up that app and like going to the mall and like looking for Pokemon, or people stop that?
Steve and I are still firing up that app. It's still like It's still like the most played game on the App Store.
Wow, I thought it phased. Did people just stop talking about it? Or maybe
people stopped.
Maybe
I mean, for a while, it was just like a worldwide phenomenon that everybody, regardless of what they were, if they knew what Pokemon was doing it. But Pokemon is still like one of the largest IPs in the entire world, and so it's still worldwide getting played a lot.
You know what's interesting? Maybe not interesting. Until a couple months ago, I don't think I even realized Pokemon was a game. Like, I just thought, I guess I didn't even know what I thought it was. Like a TV show with some playing cards, I think is what I thought it was.
So it was a video game. Jesus, got to go. We got to let.
That was my alarm to get on the 1:30 show. Honestly, is what it was.
Nailed it.
It was a video game. Then it was a trading card game. Then it was a TV show.
Okay.
Or maybe it was TV show, then trading card game. But video game came first.
See, I had no idea, but that kind of for some reason makes me feel better.
Learn something new every day.
There are now Pokemon questions in chat. At least I assume. Whatever happened to Digimon?
All right, Stevie's got those questions.
Totally different thing.
Is that a NASCAR drive? I don't do that.
They're kicking. Digimon is still kicking. They actually just started a Digimon trading card game a couple years ago, and they're still making like movies for it.
All right, well, let's get out of here. We'll let these guys take over for crunch time.
All right, myself and Stevie, we do appreciate y'all watching the first portion. I will be on later, 5:00, for a slate that has like some really good pictures. That'll be fun to talk about for sure. But yeah, hit that like button. Do subscribe. TJ is gonna let you know. He'll let you guys know about the like button. It's, maybe we get Spidey Bomb lurking as well. I don't know who's hosting amongst you guys. I will throw it to TJ. TJ, take it over. The Fanduel sponsor crunch time.
Spidey is hosting.
What's up, everybody? Yeah, Spidey's hosting today. We got a
little two-man booth. Do you know how bad it is to do shows with Dean? My gosh, you guys. Can I just hang out with you guys? Like that was. Oof. Next time, Devin, just schedule somebody else for crunch time or for Grinders Live. I'll come do crunch time. We'll kick Kevin Roth off. I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Somebody call the police. I have a dead body to report.
Yeah. Yes.
Stevie, if you want to stay here and hang out for a three-man booth, I guess not. Two-man booth it is. Myself, TJ Zwarych, will be hosting today, joined by the one and only Cheeseisgood, Davis Potts, two-time millionaire, winner. We got the two sharpest minds in DFS right here, ready to break things down. I'm doing my best Kevin Roth impression. That's all I got.
Point to the sides, even though one of the sides is yourself.
Here. Oh, there we go. Oh, nope. There it is. Make sure you check out the Fanduel Sportsbook. We got our wonderful Fanduel sponsor. You got the no sweat first bet going over there. They'll match your first $50, $100, whatever you want to put in there, up to $200. So make sure you check out the Fanduel Sportsbook as well. And we got some Spidey Bums coming. I'll drop the first one at 75 likes. So make sure you hit that like button for us on YouTube. I'll be taking questions first from the RotoGrinders Discord channel, the MLB Crunch Time page, and then secondly, we will go over to the YouTube if you guys have any QQs. Get your questions in about literally anything. We got lots of time, 5-game slate, and it's pretty straightforward, especially from a pitching standpoint. So we got lots of time to break this down. My first question for you, Dave, is this is the first time I've seen your YouTube username, Dave Potts Music. What kind of music is coming from this YouTube channel of yours?
I have a bunch of old videos of some old shows of mine. I didn't even realize. I just wanted to say hi to Steve. I didn't realize what if I was logged in, but that's my official music account. If you want to hear what I used to do in my previous life, there it is.
Well, I now know what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the afternoon is checking out the Dave Potts Music page. But it's time to talk some baseball. Give me the overview of this slate, because from a pitching standpoint, it seems pretty straightforward. From a hitting standpoint, we have Coors and then a couple other decent offenses as well. So what are you doing today?
Yeah, I think it's pretty all over the place with the bats. I'm very much in favor of just not overthinking it on the pitching side, because there just aren't good options. Even if it's maybe on what would be questionable chalk on some slates, I don't think is as questionable today. I would much rather be all over the place with hitting. I don't love the Coors Field game, so I don't feel like I have to be over on that. And I can make a case for a slate breaking offense in every single one of these games. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it, big picture.
A very relevant question in Discord as we pivot over to pitching here. Steve-O says he wants to play Sonny Gray, but the Dodgers decide to roll out their A squad on getaway day. Is he still playable? Obviously, we talked about, and you talked about a lot in the musings, Yu Darvish is kind of the don't overthink it, just roll with Yu Darvish play today. But looking at these projections, and we got Ryan Nelson projected for more fantasy points than Sonny Gray is. So can you still play Sonny Gray today going up against this strong Dodgers lineup?
Yes. I would say he still is the second highest ceiling pitcher. It's just that he's very clearly overpriced for the amount of risk. And as good as he's looked, some pretty shaky stuff against lefties. Even though, the lineup's a mix of lefties and righties, and there are a few extra strikeouts at the bottom now. I don't think you can realistically say you're going to play him ahead of Yu Darvish. I think you could say you're going to play him with Yu Darvish just to be weird. Or if you're going to do a Royal stack here or there, I guess maybe you play him because there aren't two good cheap options. I would play him ahead of Ryan Nelson, if that's the question. I would play him ahead of Ross Stripling. But I prefer Dustin May and Taijuan Walker straight up. It's kind of close. Those three are essentially a tie for second place for me. So with the salary, it's just kind of I guess I'd play Gray rather than leaving $3,000 on the table. But I don't like him.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I'm running 3 lineups today. I think I have them in 2 of them, and I'm playing Yu Darvish in all 3 of them. And that's just kind of how the lineups that I'm building on DraftKings are working today. If I'm trying to get crazy in a lot of lineups, I honestly think I'd rather just close my eyes and take a shot on Ashcraft or Gomber, just because those offenses are going to be picking up a lot of ownership as opposed to any of these other somewhat chalky SP2s. But I think Yu Darvish basically is a lock button play today. And then Sonny Gray is probably my favorite SP2 just because there's a lot of cheap things I like today from a bat standpoint. but it's pretty gross out there. I honestly don't even hate the idea of taking a shot on one of the Coors guys as opposed to somebody like Taiwan Walker, who's going to be 25% owned today. Let's pivot over to the bats, because I think you and I are on a very similar page today in terms of who our top offense on the slate is, and it's neither of the teams in Coors.
Yeah. The teams, the Reds and the Rockies just aren't good enough. I finally played some Rockies at Coors last night just because I thought that pitcher was going to be horrible, and that didn't work out. That pitcher is still going to be horrible, by the way. But like today, like I have to, for a team as bad as what the Rockies are, I have to really dislike the opposing pitcher, even in Coors. And I don't like Graham Ashcraft is okay in real life, gets a bunch of ground balls. So I do not love the Rockies. I like the Reds a little more, but not as much as I like the Diamondbacks against Oakland, because that's Oakland. Even with a little bit of a weird Arizona lineup, I still like Arizona far better than Coors. I like the Padres far better than Coors. It's still mostly a bullpen game, but Jackson Kowar coming in as kind of the long reliever helps them. I like power bats in the Phillies-Giants game more than I like the stuff at Coors. And then I like Dodgers both more kind of as a mini stack, really, but even as a full stack. And for kind of cheap random stacks, I like Oakland pretty much every bit as much as I like the Rockies.
Yeah, similar pages for me today. In my 3 lineups, my main team that I'm running is Arizona. I do have a Cincinnati mini stack. I have a little bit of a Philly stack, and Oakland is the other team that I'm looking to go with today. It's a pretty spread out offense. I don't think you have to go wildly overweight on Coors, especially because we are seeing such significant ownership. Like if people were looking at those games and thinking like, oh, they've burned me the last couple times, I don't want to be playing Coors again. These two teams are just too bad. Then I wouldn't be all that interested in them, but then I'd have a lot more interest in them, but they're not getting any they've failed me recently type ownership discounts, and they are the 2 highest owned teams on the slate. And so that really does lead me to just adore a team like Arizona today, where some of these guys are like Corbin Carroll, Josh Rojas, they're picking up some ownership, but sub 15% we're projecting for Christian Walker right now. Geraldo Perdomo might be my favorite bat on the slate, and he's batting second today, and he's coming in sub 15%. I even love a cheapie batting 7th, like a Dominic Fletcher, who nobody's going to be playing today. So Arizona is definitely going to be my favorite stack. And then, I like Oakland. I like Philly, Minnesota. Not Minnesota. I was just pulling up the rest of the teams here, but that's kind of where I'm looking to go today. Let's start taking it position by position. And like I said, if you got QQs, make sure you get them in.
There's actually a good
got lots of time.
Question to jump in and take now before we go to positions.
Is this the Discord one in the Discord about the yeah. So I'm going to throw this one to you, because that is a great question. What is considered a mini stack?
Yeah, so there are a couple people might have slightly different definitions of what they mean by mini stack. Basically, if you're playing on DraftKings and you do a 5-3 stack, 5 players in one team, 3 from there, the 3 players would be a mini stack. But really anything that's less than a full stack, but you're still correlating. So like 2 or 3 players from a team together is a mini stack. And it's where you're saying, like, I think, didn't you say you have a Reds mini stack?
Yeah. So today my Reds mini stack in one of my teams is Newman, India, and the catcher, Luke Miley. So I went with a 5-man Arizona stack, had 3 positions left, and second base is gross, and so I paid up for India. Catcher also not that great, so I paid down for Miley, and then I kind of figured I want to make sure my last spot has some correlation, and so I went with Newman there.
And that's a good example. There's basically two reasons I come up with a mini stack. One is what you're just talking about, where it's positionally oriented, like you build a team and what's going to be left is second base and catcher. So play them on the same team to get some correlation. And then there's the teams where I don't like a bunch of players, but there's a couple of big power bats that I want. So like I may not want a full Philly stack, but Harper and Schwarber are kind of in the same spot. They're both left-handed power bats. So I would put them together and call that a mini stack.
The two mini stacks that I have today, it's the Cincinnati one I talked about, and it's Harper, Schwarber, and Bryson Stott. So great minds think alike on that one. And I agree. It's kind of, you're either looking for home run plays or you're looking for correlation at weak positions. We're 3 likes away from our very first Spidey Bomb of the day. So hit that like button. I'll drop the second one when we get to 100 likes. I made a bunch of different home run picks today. And we are going to go with Spidey Bomb number 1. Who do I want to go here? Let's go JJ Bleday, your guy, Cheese. JJ Bleday is going to be hitting a home run against Ryan Nelson. You can find him for plus 540 over on Fanduel, and JJ Bleday is going to be knocking one out of the park today. Let's go to catcher. It's a weird position today because we got Will Smith up top, but he's playing Sonny Gray. We got Elias Diaz in Coors, but Elias Diaz is also a ground ball pitcher going up against the ground ball batter, and it's Elias Diaz, and he's picking up 25% ownership today. There's Real Mewtwo. There's the Real Mewtwo. We're talking too much Pokemon. Real Mewtwo. Perez, and you can go down low for the other Perez as well. Where are you looking to go at catcher today?
Yeah, it's a wild split. Like you got these 4 guys who are expensive, and then you go super cheap. They're weird spend ups. It's almost like the 4 guys you would not want to pay up for matchup wise are the 4 expensive guys. The problem is there's so many lineup builds where you just sit on tons of salary. Like it's kind of hard to spend your salary in some lineups. And I'm certainly not going to play, Austin Nola ahead of Will Smith unless it's a full Padres stack. So I do put those first 4 guys at the top, but I don't love any of them, and I'm certainly not going to sacrifice something else to get to them. I think Carlos Perez is the guy I ended up with the most of. Out of the cheap guys hitting 5th for Oakland, I'm relatively on board with him. It's really just kind of, sure, if the salary's sitting there, I'm going to play Smith or Real Mewtwo, and I have Sal Perez against Yu Darvish in a couple lineups. But I'm with you. Like the Diaz at like probably double the ownership of everyone else on the slate is just kind of wonky, and I don't love it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at as well. I'm either looking to just go like fill up a stack here with Maye. I don't know if it's Miley or Maye. For some reason,
I think it's
feel like
I've called him Molly, but I actually don't know.
Yeah, I'm not either. I think he might have used to play for the Jays, and so I feel like I remember hearing his name. Yeah, I feel like I remember hearing his name in broadcast before, and that's why I thought it was something funky, but I definitely could be wrong. I'm kind of either going cheap here with Perez as like as somebody I like in an Oakland mini stack, or going up to Will Smith. He's been hitting the ball so damn well this year. Let's go over to the first base position. Spencer Steer is going to be the chalk. He's cheap. He's the highest projected play. Then you got Freddie Freeman in a decent spot up top as well against Gray, who has struggled against lefties a lot more than righties. And then you got my favorite guy at this position on the slate. It's Christian Walker here as well. Who are you going to at first base today? And let's get those likes up. 25 more likes, and we got one more Spidey Bomb.
Yeah, the same top tier. Like Walker is definitely my favorite play, and Freeman is definitely my second favorite. I do like Spencer Steer. He's kind of, if I was just going to pick one red spat to play, it would be him. But with him being at least on DK at first base only, I do want to make sure I get more Walker and Freeman. So it's a little different. On FanDuel, he's a third baseman, so it changes things a little bit. And then you can play Bryce Harper at first on FanDuel. But on either side, like I really just want Walker and Freeman as much as possible. I don't think either is going to be super popular, so I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling here as well. We did have a question in YouTube asking about, do we not have any interest in Minnesota? Because they had some interest in Minnesota, and we didn't really mention them too much. And we talked about mini stacks too. I typically like with this new lineup that Minnesota's been throwing out lately, I do usually like them a little bit more as a mini stack as opposed to a full stack. And you look at a guy like Dustin May, he walks a lot of guys to the left, a lot of left-handed bats, but he limits it to righties. And I guess there are quite a few lefties in this lineup today. But regardless, I just typically like going Gallo, Kirilloff, Buxton. And that's kind of like my Minnesota exposure. I like getting those three guys as opposed to doing a full stack. What are your thoughts on Minnesota?
Yeah, I do have a fair amount of Gallo and Kirilloff as one-offs. And then I have a little bit of Correa and Polanco just because of the position. Like second and short are both pretty thin. So, sure, but like they're pretty close to the bottom of the list as a stack. It's just keep in mind it's a 5-game slate. And I mean, I have like 60 lineups. So I have multiple stacks of every team. And the smaller the slate, the more I'm going to say, sure, I like everybody. But they are pretty close to the bottom of my list as a full stack.
Yeah, that's where I'm at as well. If you're just literally going the top 5, I'm pretty cool with it. But once you go beyond that, that's when I get a little worried. Let's look at second base here. We did just talk about a guy like Jorge Polanco. He is a reasonable pivot, and he's cheaper too than a guy like Jonathan India. India is going to be the chalk on both sites. We're going to be looking at about 30% ownership for him, maybe only about 20% on Fanduel, where he's a little bit more expensive. What are you doing today in second?
Officially, I'm just not on board with Jonathan India chalk, especially at 5,800 on DK and even 4,000 on FanDuel. Like, I mean, yeah, play him in red stacks. He's leading off the course, but he's just not that good of a player to be priced that much, and I can't really get behind it. I would much rather play Bryson Stott or Polanco at a discount, or I would rather just punt down to I'd rather play Trejo in the course game just to save all that money. I'd rather play Kim or Vargas. I'd rather play Rougned Odor and save almost $4,000. FanDuel is super interesting because you got Mookie Betts, Senzel, and Ryan McMahon all at the second, and Cronenworth too. So you really don't need India there. And none of this to say India is a bad play. He's leading off a course, of course. I'm just saying in the context of what am I spending on today, he is not a priority.
Bryson Stott is actually my favorite guy here to go with as like a one-off. That's somebody that I'm landing on in tournaments that I don't feel many people are, and he's leading off against a guy that gives up a ton of home runs to left-handed hitters. So he's someone I don't mind getting to whatsoever. And then if I need somebody cheap that I'm looking to take a shot on DraftKings, Casey Schmidt is the person that I'm most interested in going up against Taiwan Walker. He's hit for a lot of power early in this season, mostly against lefties, but the fact that he's starting against a righty makes me think we won't have to worry about the pinch hit stuff for him. On FanDuel, you can play.
Just in case you missed it before, I don't know who's on what show. Like, I love that this guy spelled his last name with 2 T's. Like, it's just one of these things. As a society, can we just say that Schmidt does not need a D in that name? So go Casey Schmidt. Like, I'm rooting for this guy.
Yeah, big. If you're cheering for him, you're cheering for the progression of society. It's not just a baseball player. Yeah. It's not just a baseball player. You're quite literally making the world a better place and more convenient and easier for everyone else with proper spelling of last names. So I definitely hear you on that one. On FanDuel, if you're choosing between Senzel or India at second base, go with Senzel. That's kind of where I stand on that one. I don't want to play him in the outfield where there's a lot of great other players. I don't want to play him at third where there's even other guys I'd want to go with. I want to play Senzel at second, and I think that's a great pivot off of India as well. At third base, obviously, he's going to be the chalk on DraftKings over there, but we also have the cheap Kevin Newman, who's projecting pretty well and is like almost $2,000 cheaper than Senzel over on DraftKings. So who do you prioritize at second, and is maybe a pivot like Max Muncy thing to do in tournaments?
I would say Max Muncy is my favorite play on the slate, period, at any position. Like, that's part of the reason why, like, a guy like Muncy and then Freeman at first, Harper in the outfield, these kind of players. That's why I don't want to spend up on India, because I want to be able to spend up here. As far as the Reds thing, like, Senzel's a little better than Newman, sure, but if you need almost $2,000, I mean, just play Newman at third and you can play Barrero at short. I don't think you have to have Senzel in a red stack. It's fine. But no, give me Max Muncy. Definitely give me Spencer Steer on FanDuel over him. And then otherwise it's kind of a weak position for what we usually see at third. Not kind of, like extremely. It's extremely weak. You definitely want Rojas in Arizona stacks.
Ooh. So we just got official confirmation that Hernandez is just going to be an opener for KC, and it's Mike Myers, Myers, I'm assuming, is going to be the bulk reliever. And so I was just looking at it thinking, like, do we want a 4K pitcher? Because we now have a 4K pitcher on this slate doing some bulk relief innings, but this is a guy who hasn't thrown a pitch in the MLB yet this season, and he's got a 6.88 ERA in AAA so far this year. Yeah,
I was just looking. So Kohar is just completely off the board, I guess. My guess is this is still just a full-on bullpen game. I don't think we need him as a pitcher. I'm kind of glancing, like he's been kind of okay at times in the bullpen, but he's not really a major league starter. Like, I think this has to just be considered a full bullpen game.
It is one of those things that I've always found interesting when somebody does come in the bulk relief role, that I find, like, especially when there's a pitcher who's going to be limited to around like 80 pitches who's starting or something like that, I do find it's a lot easier for the bulk relief guy to get a win as opposed to the starter who needs to get through those 5 innings, when the bulk relief guy can kind of just clear the middle ones. And then if he gets his team scoring some runs in that time, he can be valuable to get the win. But today he's going up against Yu Darvish and the San Diego Padres. So he's not going to get the win, I don't think. And so it's not something I would even consider. At third base, we've talked a little bit about it already, but we'll focus more on it now. Spencer Steer is who you can play over on FanDuel at third base. And then, where would you kind of prioritize him over everybody else there? Because we talked about Muncy, and he's your favorite player over on DraftKings, but on Steer, on FanDuel, where you can get Spencer Steer at third as opposed to first, where would you rank him compared to Muncy?
I still have Muncy ahead of him, although I think playing them both is I think you're probably playing either 2 first basemen or 2 third basemen. I'm going to say that Steer just gets kind of a silly amount of ownership. And if it's like, I'm seeing pull up the numbers. I mean, we've got him at like more than 4 times the ownership of Muncy, and I like Muncy just straight up better. So that answers that question for me.
We got 2 positions left to cover, and we still have a full 20 minutes until lock. So get your questions in, get your baseball questions in, get your silly questions in. We will make sure to get through all of them. Spelling questions. If you got grammar questions, you got math questions, you got Pokemon questions, you get them in, and we will. We'll get you answers for that as well. And make sure you hit the like button. 17 more likes for Spidey Bomb number 2. I got a bunch of home run bets out today, so make sure you take advantage of that and hit the like button. At shortstop today on FanDuel, you can play Tatis, and on FanDuel, where you can play Tatis, he's basically always going to be the top shortstop option because he's one of the best hitters in the entire league. For me personally, my guy today is Geraldo Perdomo. He's been hitting the ball so well this year. He's batting second today, going up against Medina and the horrific Oakland bullpen. You got Bogarts leading off. Trey Turner is just stupid cheap on FanDuel. Who do you like today at short?
Yeah, kind of like everybody. On the FanDuel side, Tatis and Turner are so good, it's hard to mess around with much more outside of a stack. I agree with you. Perdomo in Arizona stacks is fantastic. And on DK, I like him even outside of stacks. Turner is a little hard to get to on DK, and I mean I like him, but I don't love him. Kind of same for Witt and Bogarts. I mentioned it with Sal Perez at catcher. Like, there's plenty of lineups where I have one Royals bat against Darvish, but I would prefer to play Turner, or even Thairo Estrada, who somehow is good. Like, I don't even know why I say somehow. Like, he kind of just came out of nowhere, and it seems weird that he's always priced this high. But he's got a lot of speed and some power. It's probably fluky-ish, but he's hitting 300, so I don't mind him as another weird spend up. But on DK, we have.
I like the Estrada call. The one thing I'd say is just like I feel like that's a guy today with such a strong shortstop position and such a weak second base position. That's definitely a guy I want to play at second.
Yeah, so on the DK side, we have both of the cheap reds. We mentioned Newman at third. I think there's going to be red stacks where you want Newman and Barrero to be able to spend up everywhere else. I think I like just playing Barrero instead, just because they're kind of the same guy and batting 2 spots apart, and one of them will just be significantly under-owned because of that. Everything else I think is just in a stack. I mean, like Ha-Seong Kim and Chris Taylor and all these guys, like, sure, it's fine. But as a one-off, I'm not going to mess around with that. I'm with you on the Perdomo thing ahead of those guys.
Not only did I bet him at 11-1 on my local sports betting site to hit a home run today, if you look over at Caesars, he's 10-1 to hit a home run, which, like, this isn't necessarily a power hitter, but he's batting second as opposed to ninth, and the odds are the same as where they are when he's batting ninth. So that's why I liked it today. But like, I got him for plus 900 for 4+ bases, and that was kind of my favorite bet of the slate, because even if he doesn't hit a home run, he could get a single and 2 singles and a double in this one, because he has been hitting for some very strong contact this year. Going over to outfield on DraftKings, where Tatis is only available there, he is the highest projected outfielder if you're looking at the bat projections by over 2 fantasy points today. And then if you pivot over to ours, he is the second highest projected outfielder on the slate, behind only Juan Soto on the exact same team. I love Corbin Carroll today. I see you got him tagged as well. Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber are 2 guys I love as a one-off. But for me, it's just like I'm trying to load up on as many Arizona bats as I can, and then I'm looking to the San Diego guys and the Philly guys as the cheap one-offs to just land in my lineup for however much salary I have left.
Yeah, so kind of going back to the not spinning up everywhere in the infield, like not playing Jonathan India, for example, is so that you can get a couple of these big outfielders, same guys that you mentioned. I love Carroll. I love Tatis. I love Harper. I love Schwarber. I love Soto. I'm prioritizing Tatis and Carroll, but I like all those guys a ton. Your Spidey Bomb of JJ Bleday is probably my favorite super cheap guy. There's plenty, as always, of cheap bats in the outfield. I don't want to get too cute when there's that many good expensive players. And there's also some mid-tier guys I want at least a little bit of. James Outman is up there for me. Gurriel, Joey Gallo again. You might play him at first or outfield. Same with Will Myers. It's just pretty stacked. There's someone else I was trying to mention. Jason Hayward, 2,500 on DK. There's plenty of cheap stuff if you need it. But I think the high end is just so good. You want at least 1 or 2 of those guys when you can.
Yeah, that's the same page that I'm on today as well. We got 14 minutes left to lock. We got 13 likes till the next Spidey Bomb. So make sure you are hitting the like button. How do you feel? Who was the first Spidey Bomb? Somebody asked in chat. First Spidey Bomb was JJ Bleday. How do you feel about stacking the Arizona-Oakland game on FanDuel? That is my favorite. My favorite offense to target is Arizona. My favorite cheap offense to target is Oakland, and I feel like you're on a similar page for that one.
Yeah, what I would say on FanDuel, like you don't have to have 4-4 stacks. I mean, you might if that's where the salaries work out, but like with a team like Oakland, don't feel like you just have to have the fourth guy in there to make a 4-4. Like if the choices you can afford, to just play Bryce Harper or Max Muncy or Fernando Tatis instead of playing Jace Peterson to fill out a stack. I wouldn't go that far with it. But yeah, we both love Arizona and Oakland as a cheap stack.
And then going over to QQs here, I'm just trying to make a couple last adjustments in a lineup, but that's not so easy to do, and it's a two-man booth, so that's okay. QQ, Perdomo and Turner, or Muncy and Allen?
Yeah, I love Muncy so much, but I feel like Perdomo Turner is the better answer.
Yeah, just the ability to get two guys who could steal a base, hit for a bunch of contact, high upside guys, where Muncy and Allen, you're almost maybe just taking Muncy's points. Like, you're hoping Allen does something, but you're basically just doing that exclusively for Muncy.
Yeah.
Fairchild or Will Myers in a Cincinnati stack?
I would Will Myers that one.
Doesn't matter the slates. Tatis will always be highest projected in the bat. Yes, that is probably true. Peeking back over to Discord, see if anyone said anything yet. Yes, we do. DK Cash, Soto and Gurriel, or Tatis and an outfield bat under 3.6K?
Soto Gurriel is pretty great.
So it'd basically be like Soto Gurriel, or
it's probably like Will Myers or Ruiz, maybe something. I would say
Myers probably for cash. Yeah, I think I would do Soto Gurriel on that one as well. Looking over for a hedge stack and a DK tourney, what do you think about KC, and who would you add as a mini stack?
So, because it's a small slate and, Darvish is going to be super mega chalk, you can certainly play KC in a tournament. And the thing is, if you're playing KC, you don't have to worry about ownership with a mini stack. So you just play who you like next or who fits salary-wise. The thing about KC is the reason I usually like them is that it feels like their best hitters are a catcher and a shortstop, which is kind of a unique build, which might change who you play around them. And I would also say I wouldn't necessarily mini stack at all around that. Like, I would just play the best available bats at the leftover positions. So if you can get Muncy and Christian Walker and Tatis, just do that.
The other thing I'd want to say with that too is I would kind of exclusively, I don't think I'd want to play KC as a full stack today. I would much rather play another team as a full stack and just roll with Witt, Sal Perez, and Pasquantino or Melendez, something like that. Like, KC would be my mini stack. And another team would be my full stack, as opposed to rolling with them, because if they have a good game, you can almost always trace all of that production back to Sal Perez and Bobby Witt anyways. Who do you think is the very worst pitcher on this early slate?
I think it's the two pitchers in Oakland. We haven't seen enough of Medina to really make a firm stance. But based on minor league numbers, I would say he's the worst. Combining what we've seen in the majors, I would say Nelson is the worst.
I think that makes sense. Cheese, every time you've argued with Cardi lately about Arenado, I've bet his home run prop, and it has hit. Thank you. Keep up the good work for the people.
Yeah, it's been free money to go against the the math. Just take the guy who hits a home run every night.
That's it from Discord. I will peek over to YouTube again here. In a game that we play daily fantasy decisions, how come in a game that we play daily, how come decisions are made based on season-long expectations? Just curious. I'll let you handle this, Cheese, but I'll kind of give my take quick beforehand. We're still using daily expectations, not season-based expectations, because if you look at a slate from baseball, we look at what pitcher are our batters facing today. However, it's so important to look at the not just season-long stats, but sometimes 2 season-long stats, because baseball is a sport that is so random that you need you can't just look at it from a 1-day sample only, because a guy can hit 4 balls 100 miles an hour that all go directly into somebody's glove, and so you'd think, that guy sucks, but in reality he just got unlucky. What's your take on that one?
Yeah, pretty similar. I mean, the whole reason why I rail against people using projections blindly, and the reason I argue with Cardi so much about these projections, like, it means nothing in 1 day. For, like you just said, like, you need a lot of data to know if a guy's actually good or not. Like, if a guy goes 0 for 4 like 5 days in a row, people say, well, he's terrible. But like you just said, the guy might have hit 10 screaming line drives and 3 balls to the warning track, and like you need the numbers to see who's good. And the way you asked the question, I mean, there's different ways to view that question. I also kind of think you're exactly right in what you're saying, in that it kind of only matters what's going on right now at this moment, which is, I don't think you want to overrate long-term numbers when you do have short-term numbers that say something, but short-term not being like 2 days. But it can be, a month for a pitcher or 2 months for a hitter, that kind of thing.
And so that's kind of the other thing I like to look at too, in terms of, and that's why we don't talk about this type of thing as much, something like a hot streak, a quote unquote hot streak. Nolan Arenado started hitting the ball this year. Terrible. His batted ball numbers were among some of the worst players in the league. But this is also a guy that over a long period of time has been very good. So we know that if he's hitting this terrible at the start of the year, there's a chance that regression is probably going to come, because he's better than what he was doing historically. And now we've seen, and baseball season's so long, players are going to have something that bothers them, and so they're going to be messing things up, and then they're going to be, sometimes they're seeing the ball really well, and so it's getting hit hard, and sometimes that hit hard ball is going to go directly into somebody's glove, and sometimes it's not. So that's kind of that's kind of like how I look at this for Arenado is, he was struggling to start the year. Now he seems to be hitting the ball better. But the reason why we can't always look at that just over the last week and things like that is because you can't quantify when a batter is feeling good and when a batter is feeling bad. We don't know what's going on with players' mental healths and how that is going to affect, and sometimes a minor injury and how that affects their swings. We don't know that. And so the best thing that we can quantify to be successful the most often is by looking at those long-term numbers, knowing which of these batters are good players. It's not always something like a football where you can go, all right, this guy sucks, but he's going to get, we're projecting him to get targeted 10 times today against a horrific offense. Well, even if he sucks, he's getting that volume. Well, volume isn't the same in baseball, because everybody's going to get the same amount of bats and everybody can go 0 for 4. And so that's kind of why we have to look at the long-term data. Who do you like better as a stack today, the Phillies or the Padres?
I do like them both, but I would take the Padres first.
Same here as well. I like the Padres better as a full stack, but I do really like the mini stack for the Philadelphia guys, just going with those left-handed bats in this one. Bluebell or Ben & Jerry's?
Ben & Jerry's.
Easy.
But love Bluebell
think twice
as well, but it's Ben & Jerry's.
Have you ever had a Slurpee with ice cream in it?
I have not. But
it's fantastic.
It's
really delicious.
I'm very interested. Yeah.
You mix them around.
Part of the problem is we actually don't have 7-Eleven here. I have to go to Florida to get 7-Eleven or plenty of other places. But next time I do, I know what I'm going to do.
We got Bill T in chat saying Breyers is his go-to for ice cream. You a Breyers guy at all?
That's one of the go-tos when I just go to the grocery store and pick some up, like to have with something. Like if we make brownies and I want vanilla ice cream,
some apple pie.
I get Breyers. Yeah, exactly. I do eat a fair amount of Breyers.
Yeah, Bill T says you got to go with Breyers because you need to be contrarian to win, and like Ben & Jerry's is just a little bit too optimal. We got 2 minutes until walk. I believe we have covered everything. We got 9 likes away from a Spidey Bomb. I'll tell you what, if 4 more people can hit this like button and get me up to 95 here right before we end this thing, then I'll be able to give you 1 more Spidey Bomb. I don't know. It's 2 minutes early. I got to get confirmation from our man Devin behind the scenes here. Devin, pop back in. Can we end early? Because I'm not the usual host, so I'm not going to make that decision.
I think if we've run out of questions, we've done the things, we've answered the people, we've helped them all build their lineups. So yeah, let's we'll try and get the likes up real quick, and then we'll bounce out. I think I see the likes just took a spike here. So
spikes from the likes. We got 100, and it's time for Spidey Bomb number 2. We're going back to Arizona, running it back with somebody who we actually chose as a Spidey Bomb yesterday in chat. He didn't hit a home run, but his odds are still too good, and he's even in a better spot today. Corbin Carroll, you can find him for plus 600 to hit a home run over on FanDuel. So make sure you get that one in. That's still 27 more minutes before that game locks. We've hit over 100 likes. Thank you to the people for hitting that like button, and this will do it for another edition of Crunch Time. We're going to have crew back later this afternoon, both for Grinders Live and for Crunch Time, because we got the late slate coming tonight as well. So make sure you tune in. We got content coming all day for you, including Cheese's $1 Million Musings, which are already up, the expert survey, which I'm sure is already up as well. So you got a full day of RotoGrinders content for you on this wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. My name is TJ. We got Cheese Davis Potts here as well on behalf of our wonderful producer Devin and everybody at RG. I'm going to do my best Roth impression. You have been crunched.